Editor's note, the following contains Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 8 spoilers. Going into the second half of the final season of the enthralling show that is Better Call Saul, the threat looming over everything was the presence of one man, Lalo Salamanca. Played with a menacing machismo by a terrific and terrifying Tony Dalton, he was the primary antagonist that we had all come to fear. When we last saw him, he had just killed Howard, Patrick Fabian, in cold blood. He did so in front of a distraught Jimmy, Bob Odenkirk, and Kim, Rhea Seehorn, their increasing depravity laid bare by the lifeless body that was now on their floor. We were left in suspense at what Lalo would do to them. There was the fear that he might kill them or torture them to get information. Instead, this episode saw him set in motion a plan that involved them serving as decoys while he went to find the underground lab of one Gustavo Gus Fring, Giancarlo Esposito. It was one of the show's most realistically tense episodes yet, a well-oiled machine of deadly drama. It also took on a more unexpected tone when it became clear Lalo was entering into a dangerous situation he might not get out of. Collider video of the day. Sure enough, in the episode's climactic scene, he gets in a shootout with Gus that plays out in almost complete darkness. The only thing illuminating what was happening were the muzzle flashes of the two men firing at each other, a beautiful way of lighting a brutal scene we only catch in brief glimpses. When the lights come back up, we see Lalo is fatally wounded. In his final moments, he laughs while choking on his own blood before giving one last smile. He is then later buried unceremoniously in the secret lab next to Howard, the man he had killed just hours earlier. It was a stunning end for a character that had been set up to be an antagonist that could have easily dominated the rest of the season. He was always likely to die, though his demise so early was an unanticipated development. Without him, the show is now in uncharted territory where the greatest threat facing Jimmy and Kim is not the man they have come to fear. The more grim realization is that their greatest enemy is actually themselves. It is their increasing callousness that helped lead to the death of Howard and continues to send them down a path into even more darkness that threatens to dominate their lives. Without Lalo in the picture, it is hard to think of what the central conflict will be. Sure, there is still the Salamanca family, though they don't even know what took place in this episode, let alone how Jimmy and Kim are involved. While Gus now will be emboldened to continue with his plans, it doesn't seem like he has any grudge against the two lawyers that got caught up in it. None of these things are criticisms of the show, quite the opposite. Even as the story has somewhat of a fixed endpoint when it comes to connecting to the events of Breaking Bad, it has constantly shown it is willing to upend our expectations and predictions wherever it can. In doing so, it has demonstrated an admirable willingness to dig deeper into character and eschew the conventional narrative beats that a lesser show could have easily fallen into. Much of this is due to the now Emmy-nominated work of Sehorn and Odenkirk, though credit also must be given to the writing that opens up room for them to really sink their teeth into their roles. Lalo's death was another example of the show throwing caution to the wind, setting the stage for a more sinister and sly story that will continue to unravel in the remaining episodes. This all comes back to Jimmy and Kim. Over the course of the show, and this season in particular, the most pressing question is how far they would fall. We know that Jimmy survives, though now lives a life of loneliness, working at a Cinnabon with Kim nowhere to be found. Things are most certainly not going to end up in a good place. However, the impending devastation they will likely soon face may be a creation of their own making. While Lalo was a great antagonist who was both riveting and relentless, his death is one that marks yet another interesting wrinkle in the show. Rather than being doomed by external threats, it is becoming clear that Jimmy and Kim are most at risk because of internal ones. Though they never intended for Howard to die, they fully set out to destroy his life and all that he cared about. They loved every second of it, with Kim even throwing away her chance at helping those targeted by the criminal justice system just to get even with her former boss. They are both vindictive and deeply flawed people, architects of chaos who are more terrifying to watch become monsters in suits than anything we have seen thus far. They are the ones that will be most responsible for what befalls them, a grim realization that keeps getting more apparent. The show is best in these moments when we realize that the people we have come to love and care for are actually the ones who are becoming antagonists within their own story. Even as a prequel, Better Call Saul continues to surprise us by killing off characters like Lalo to carve out room for what it is really interested in and most adept at grappling with. It is a precise character study of people slowly becoming their own worst selves, not because they were forced but because they are drawn to it. Despite their own capacity for good that we have occasionally seen faintly here and there, this episode cements that it is only going to get worse from here. It makes the remaining episodes not just the most anticipated of any television show out there, but ones that have the most potential to continue to challenge us as an audience. What could have easily been centered around further conflict with Lalo is now an open book of almost limitless opportunities to continue to explore the characters at the core. Where they end up going is anyone's guess, though the show has demonstrated a praiseworthy willingness to push out into uncharted waters with stormy seas ahead. By tossing us out into this oblivion with no safety rope or typical antagonist to focus on, Better Call Saul defies convention in the most incisive way possible to remain one of the best shows of a generation.